Chris is going to be demoing OpenAI assistants and kind of just the latest work that himself and Gil have been doing here. So go ahead, Chris. And if you can zoom in a lot, that'd be good.
Sure. So this is the .NET version of some experimental work we had done with assistants. So at a high level, the assistance project is checked in under, this is the .NET version. Evan's working on Python version, I'll let the cat out of the bag there. And it's under experimental assistance. And also there's some kernel syntax examples too, 70 and 71. 70 actually shows kind of 4 different variations, and 71 shows multiple assistants interacting. We'll pivot to those examples, but I put together a very simple example just to run to show the basics. So there's sort of 2 flavors. One, which you're seeing here, is just exposing the assistant pattern kind of as defined by OpenAI. Internally, it is using a kernel to do some chat completion, but primarily it's just interacting with the REST endpoints. We're passing in the model name. In this case, it's 2.5 Turbo 1106, so the assistant-enabled one, and the API key, and the system instructions for the assistant, talk like a parrot, and the name, which is optional, and description, which is optional. So once we have the assistant, create a thread, add user message. This is just basically go through a chat loop. So if you're reading the OpenAI specs and you look at this, you're going to see like a very direct alignment. And if we just run it, you'll see pretty much exactly what you expect. And so I set this up as a separate console project for the demo today, instead of just running the kernel syntax examples, just to verify, to walk a different path and just re-verify that the NuGets are working, that everybody in the audience today can download the NuGet and do exactly this. So here it's outputting the assistant ID, which persists the input message, the assistant message repeated like a parrot, it's a parrot sound. Same thing here with the message IDs. If you were to go back, these message IDs are persisted on the OpenAI backend, so they can be retrieved. So this is pretty much the no-frills assistant experience with no functions or tools. You can see we're just importing semantic kernel and the assistance package. In terms of, we look at some more advanced, interesting cases in the demo. So while that's just the basic pattern, one kind of spin that we put on the assistant is the way we've implemented it, it's actually a function. So once you have an assistant, it can be imported as a plugin to have functions, and then you can just call it so this is like the first SK kernel function. So here's the assistant exposed as the iAssistant interface, but it can also be imported into the kernel plugin / function ecosystem and then interact with any other function. At that point, it's just another function that's being called and getting the result, which leads to the next example, because just to give it, so here's this is the pirate one. You can also initialize this assistant with functions plugins, and it can do function calling. Those are demoed here, and that kind of all comes together where here, the kernel example 71, we're initializing 3 assistants. One uses a tool to retrieve some menu information, just some static information. And This is the definition for the tool. So as an option, you can define your assistant in YAML and import it. In this initial example, I kind of showed the direct pro code version. The importing the YAML just calls into the builder, but that's what we're doing in the demo here. So basically, this assistant is just basically said, oh, take the input, and if you can run a tool to solve this objective, do it. And the tool this one got was the menu information. And then the paired assistant we just saw. Both of these assistants are imported as functions and passed as tools to kind of a manager assistant. And so the manager will take an input objective and then determine which function to call, which function is most appropriate to call. In this case, the functions are actually other assistants. So for this
Chris,
objective,
can
it
you
would call.
increase the font again?
Oh, yep. So so basically, the tool assistant is just triaging which function to call, and the function is in fact just another assistant. So for this objective, it would call the menu assistant. For this objective, it would call the paired assistant, and then for the others, it just no assistant, and it just responds in chat. The kernel examples are available for everybody to run. I don't have it configured right now to run, but those are available. 70 shows the basic flavors of doing the chat loop, kind of the assistant-based chat loop, and then also treating the assistant as a function, which using the assistant as a function, I think, is really going to be compelling in terms of creating capabilities in the semantic kernel ecosystem. And interacting with other native and semantic functions.
Chris, a question that came in the chat is in this case, is a tool assistant acting like a planner?
You know, it's not a planner. This might be a little controversial, I suppose, but we were just talking about this yesterday, actually. And I mean, there's certainly significant overlap in the OpenAI function calling pattern and what planners do. I think in Teresa's presentation, she makes a compelling argument to distinguish, where a planner is able to call hosted OpenAI functions and also local native functions. So in that way, if you have a lot of native functions or plugins that you're interested in using, a planner could be more capable potentially than the OpenAI one, depending how and then also the assistant experience, the OpenAI function calling assistance is a little more like the stepwise planner sort of. And if you want more of a comprehensive end-to-end plan that you can expect and audit and re-execute, I think the planners might have the advantage there. If Teresa's back on, she can.
Cool. And last question is, how does the manager know which function to invoke?
Oh, great. Oh, well, that's the same way that, I mean, if you just did like a normal chat completion prompt separate from assistant with OpenAI function calling, the logic is exactly the same. In fact, the documentation for assistant function calling, I'll link it in chat after I'm done. Just links to the comment. There's no distinction between just regular function calling and assistant function calling. They're the same underlying mechanism. So effectively, based on the descriptions and the semantic understanding of the metadata that's presented, in particular, there's the OpenAPI manifest is provided, which describes the functions and parameters and return types, and then the model reasons over that.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Chris, for this walkthrough. And as mentioned, all these examples are in the kernel syntax examples, or it's on the links that Chris provided. So thank you.